What's going on, everybody? What's up, Justin? I'm not gonna do a major shout out like I'm on a microphone. Justin, my partner, my friend, co-host. What's up, brother?
How you doing?
And media may be new to you. You understand co-host means equal footing, right? It co-host doesn't mean like you're my co-host, like your assistant co-host is equal. Like Skip and Stephen A were co-hosts. Make sense?
You're the brain trust, man. I'm along for the ride.
No. You're the engine. Yeah. You're the engine on the wheel. I was like, wait, who's steering? That's not good if we have no driver. It's like we're both in the back seat. Like, who's driving this? But
We'll
it
see where it
is
goes.
wrestling with MMA. The first episode, pretty good numbers, man. A lot of downloads, clicks, subscriptions. We're
That's cool.
climbing the rankings. We're the hottest wrestling with MMA podcast in the world, number one on the charts in Abu Dhabi and St. Petersburg, Russia. We're killing it. Uh, Pretty interesting week. I thought we were gonna roll in this pretty casual, but Bo Nickal just fought last night, Dana White Contender Series. We also have somebody who faced Bo in the wrestling career, Pat Downey, Bellator 284 this Friday. So, gonna really have the focus on them. First impressions, Justin. What do you take away from the Bo Nickal second MMA fight?
Well, I think it went by too quick for me. Like I was telling you last night, I struggled to stay up, and I watched it. I was like, man, a minute and 2 seconds. But props to his opponent there for going out. I mean, everybody is saying Bo was open up at 10,000 to 1 or for the betting odds, and
Something crazy.
which is nuts. So if you Google Bo Nickal, you're like, oh man, this guy's a 3-time NCAA champ. He's legit. He's a dude. But no, came out. Guy tried his flying knees. I mean, if you're wrestling or you're going after a stud like that, you might as well bring your A game and your home run and whatever works for you. So he went out and tried to hit him with a flying knee. And as soon as he landed that blast double, I was like, oh man, like this is over. And Bo got on top, dropped a hammer on his head. And then when he hit that front headlock, I initially thought he was going to pin him up against the cage there and just put him out right there. Yeah, but his head was to the side. So I feel like if his head was underneath his sternum or in his stomach, lifting that up, I think he would have tapped out there. But snapped him down a front headlock, spun around, and then once he threw that left leg in and put that rear naked choke in, I was like, oh man, this guy's done. And then tapped out. But impressive. I mean, Dana White not giving him a contract now, I understand. He said, only one guy went to the UFC 1-0. It was Brock Lesnar, and but he gave Bo all the props in the world. He said this dude's legit. He's for real, and Bo is real. I think calm about it. Say, hey, I'm not just here for a contract. I want to be the the world champ, which is cool. Probably maybe a little salty because it's not happening immediately, but it's going to happen eventually. And I think he said he's going to give him another fight September, maybe. I think maybe October. But yeah, he's the real deal. And I don't think you really, I mean, Dana White, maybe his mindset is like, hey, the first guy he fought looked like a bar fight, the guy came out of a bar, but no. And then this guy, I don't know. He Bo's the real thing. So it'll be interesting to see who he matches up with next.
Certainly, I agree with everything 100%. And I think it's 10 or 12 weeks the Dana White Contender Series run. So if you do the math, they'll probably put him on one of the later weeks to like give him time to rest and book an opponent and promote the fight.
Well, he was in there for a minute and 2 seconds, and Bo said, "I'm unscathed. I'm ready to go. Like, let's do this."
If you do a legendary thing, he fights this coming Tuesday. Stay in Vegas. Don't go back to Florida. I think he trains. Don't go back to Florida. Stay in Vegas. Like, I don't even think he's was touched. And now you probably have the more trained eye with this, especially studying Bo. Was he jittery? The way he went from the front headlock position to spinning around to the back, Was that jitters or was he fully in control of everything? He went for the rear naked choke, the squeeze across the jaw, a la Khabib. No pun intended with the a la, but a la Khabib versus Conor. Like that, it reminded me of that. Khabib fought with a lot of anger and emotion that night. Though Bo didn't have the choke under the chin or right on the neck, the carotid arteries. Was he nervous or was he just totally composed and he knows how strong he is?
Well, what he said pre-fight was, or post-fight is yeah, I mean, he's getting into a fight. Absolutely, he's nervous. But
And I appreciate him saying that.
But like they said before, he fought or wrestled at 30,000 people at Madison Square Garden for national title. He's used to the limelight. So once once that bell rings, that whistle blows, I think he tunes everything out and it's game on. But I think that's in wrestling wise, you get a front headlock, and if you can't put him on his back, you're going to spin behind and secure your points. But same thing MMA wise. He attacked him where he was weak, spun behind, and even if he had even to get the choke in, he still punched him in the back of the head or doing something else, whatever he wanted to him. So I think it was that was what he wanted to do at the time. I don't think he was nervous or anything once he started rolling, but yeah, I think it was a planned thing. Hey, let's try to end this quick.
And here I want to I should have had this already loaded. Here is oh my gosh. I gotta type in my password to share them. Anyway, the government's listening. It doesn't matter if we're can let me know if you can hear it.
Not at all. I mean,
Yep, I got you.
Okay. This is on ESPN, courtesy of ESPN. Laura Sanko interviewing Bo Nickal after coming hot off, what'd you say, a minute 2 seconds off his
Minute 2 seconds.
His dominating win. I hope you guys all made a ton of money, but here's Bo Nickal. Takeaways from that interview, Justin.
I love it. I mean, he's not lying. His wrestling is 100 times what they could handle. But I love it. I'm ready for the next one.
Putting your promotional hat on, you are Dana Ferrara.
Okay.
Who do you want for Bo next? I mean, this guy is gonna be. He's confident. He checks off so many boxes. Dana White's a big fan, obviously. Before he gets to the Shark Tank of the UFC, which I'm sure he'll be able to swim with. Do you want to test him a little more? Do you want Bo to be maybe just a minus 500 favorite and not like a 3,000 or 30,000, whatever his favorite line was? What are you looking for in his next fight before you officially give him that UFC contract?
Say test him, really test him. But
jiu-jitsu guy, hardcore striker. What
I mean, jiu-jitsu would be cool. I mean, but I really don't see anybody giving him a problem in the Contender Series.
I agree. And
he may run into issues in the UFC, but I don't think in the Contender Series he's going to have any issues.
I appreciate. I didn't know he was doing grappling tournaments too. He was doing like prestigious grappling tournaments. Yeah. I think it was Quintet in Vegas. He's got a whole bunch of people watching. Again, he faced Gordon Ryan. Like, he is not scared of anything, and he has that just Captain America type of feel to him. Like, Bo knows is gonna come back, man. I swear that saying's gonna come back. Nike's gonna jump on him. He clean cut athlete. And I think it's just the perfect dichotomy that Bellator 284 is this Friday. Pat Downey, somebody who's wrestled on the highest levels of wrestling, Olympic trials, obviously NCAA. I'm learning about him. I'm always using your knowledge to kind of build off and build my own take on him. But can you give us a quick resume on Mr. Pat Downey and why we should tune in this Friday?
So Pat was a superstar in high school. Still in my mind, he's a superstar. He had a bunch of he's from Maryland. He had a bunch of I think legal issues. He just ran with the wrong crowd. I think he said it in multiple interviews. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong people. But he ended up going to the University of Nebraska. I believe he was recruited heavily by Jordan Burroughs. Got into a fight or two there. Head coach Mark Manning kicked him off. Ended up going to Iowa Central JUCO school. Was a national champ there for them. And then he went to Iowa State and was also an All-American for head coach Kevin Jackson, who is now the assistant at Michigan. But more issues the following year. He ended up getting more trouble, kicked off the team. It's really a shame because, his whole life he dedicated himself to wrestling, but he just couldn't stay out of trouble or, it is a shame. But right now, I think he's doing the right things. I hope he rebounds. I really do. But he was a U.S. senior national champ. So he ended up going to the world championships. And I would have loved to watch him wrestle David Taylor, but David Taylor had a knee injury. So he was unable to wrestle. So he had to forfeit his spot to the world championships. But, Pat is, I think he's obviously tough as nails, tough dude. I think, he gets the right people in his corner, the right coaches around him, just that support. I think he's going to be on the right track to make a big name for himself. Hopefully that stuff in his past is kind of, a learning lesson for him. But I wish him the best of luck. I hope he knocks his dude out and, transitions to UFC or, makes a name for himself in Bellator. But I'm really excited to see him. When I saw his name on the card, I was like, oh man, I was like, is this the Pat Downey I'm thinking of? And it is. So that's, I'm real excited to see him compete.
Yeah, a lot of craziness on this too, man. I don't know. I couldn't find any amateur MMA stuff. He might just be like so respected with his wrestling credentials that they're just allowing him to skip a amateur career, jump into a pro career. Again, it's so cool to follow the trajectory of Bo Nickal and now Pat Downey. They're training at the two best teams in Florida. You had Bo Nickal, American Top Team, Coconut Creek, and now Pat Downey, I see, is at Sanford MMA, and there's a lot of crossover between the gyms, a lot of tension between the gyms. And it's just so cool that these guys are fighting on the same week. In your opinion, you've studied Pat, I mean, like 100 times more than I have. Is he taking this fight? Is he fighting for the right reasons? Is this going to be an outlet where he truly can flourish, or is he doing it because he has a skill set and this is a proper way to use that skill set?
I think it's a little bit of both. He's going to flourish and, nothing against his past at all, but he's known for, fighting, getting into some scraps. But I think if he keeps his head on straight, like I said, good coaches, good management team, and he'll find success. But it's just, is he going to stay humble? He's going to stay controlled. I think that's the big thing. Once he starts flourishing, he gets a little ahead of himself. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I really think this will be a really good outlet for him. So yeah, he did wrestle Bo Nickal at the Olympic team trials in 2020, and I think Bo ended up tackling him.
It'd be so cool, and it's the UFC and Dana White shoots it down. You can understand why he doesn't want to do a Bellator versus UFC crossover promotion event. He goes because like the UFC has a lot more to lose. If Bellator fighters beat up on the UFC fighters, it's all to gain from Bellator. UFC is like, dude, we're top dog, back off. But yep. I would love to see Downey versus Nickal down the road for some type of world championship. Real quick, I want to play this cut courtesy of MMA Junkie, Nolan's King interview with Pat Downey. I believe the synopsis is about him and his relationship with wrestling.
Yeah, like even when I, did everything I set out to do in the sport, they still didn't want me being their representative, and I just feel like I wasn't the wrestling poster boy that they kind of wanted representing Team USA.
Bo Nickal.
I mean USA Wrestling, the governing body. And always getting reprimanded for shit I was saying or what I was doing or how I was behaving, and just because I didn't go to church on Sunday and then go secretly closet sin on Monday like all them fake motherfuckers are doing. I was a little more open about my lifestyle or how I live and what I do. And I don't, they're just a very judgmental, small kind of cliquey crowd. And it sucks that in an individual sport and a tough sport like wrestling, that there's so many politics and like favoritisms and weird little cliques and crews. Like, I don't really know how to explain it much better than that, but yeah, I kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, and I'm happy to move on to something better. What up, Boris?
What are your thoughts?
So I could be wrong. I may be wrong, but I think I remember reading something about him tweeting about women's wrestling
Yes,
and
that was in the article.
Greco-Roman. Something to do with like a Final X, like Flow Wrestling is one of the main, actually like the main companies that broadcast wrestling events at the highest level, and they weren't paying like female wrestlers equally as like a Jordan Burroughs or so I think he made a comment like, hey, like something along the lines like they come to watch men's freestyle, not like Greco or women's freestyle. And there was a big blowback, and I think he was sponsored by Barbarian Apparel. I think they dropped him, and then he was at New Jersey Regional Wrestling Club or Training Center, and they ended up dropping him as well.
Wow. That is not that harsh compared to, there's a couple of foreign fighters who come from countries that women are way down on the totem pole. And these fighters, a Bellator fighter, he said he literally doesn't want women fighting. They should not be fighting. They should be at home. And it's like, that's way worse than what Pat Downey said. Pat isn't lying when he's saying they're coming to watch Jordan Burroughs. It's like, are you going to watch the Knicks or the Liberty? And it's like, if he said something worse, like that women shouldn't be wrestling, I feel like that would be the equivalent to what the Bellator fighter said, but I don't know.
And that's his own personal opinion, because there's some amazing female athletes out there. Sarah Hillebrand comes to my mind immediately. She, I think, took third in the Olympics. She is tough as nails. Went to King College. I think she's originally from Indiana, but her brother was an All-American at Central Michigan. He ended up transferring to Penn State, but she's super tough. She's got her own like clothing brand or clothing line out of a wrestling company called the Rudis. But she's super tough. Helen Morales, she's a Olympic gold medalist. I think world bronze medalist, but a lot of these athletes are tough as nails. And then what women's wrestling's doing now, they're blowing up. They're adding wrestling program left and right in college level. And we're just getting tough. Like US women are competing with Japan. Japan is historically like number one. So it's really cool to see that. And, women's sport is wrestling. It is growing like crazy. So I think this year, like we were talking about last week, Fargo National Championships, that's the biggest, essentially the biggest tournament in the world for high schoolers. And they had over 1,000 girls registered for the junior division. So high school division, like that's awesome. So the sport is growing, and people are coming to watch them. But I think that's just his own personal opinion, and that I think that was another little minor setback for him. But it looks like he's on his feet training. What you said was, one of the top teams in the country. So they see potential in him, and he's doing the right things. And again, I think that was just something, maybe he did mean it that way, but in the wrestling community, I mean, it is a tight-knit community, and they love to see, everybody grow. So women being on that same page is growing along with Greco-Roman. I mean, I prefer Greco-Roman. I love Greco. And nobody like people remember Rulon Gardner for beating the 13-time world champ Alex Karelin from Russia. That's a
I've heard of Karelin. Okay.
That's a household name now, Rulon Gardner. Also University of Nebraska. But he Greco's not. Everybody's like, oh, I can't attack the legs. I can't. It's a different style, but it's not as popular as freestyle. But his opinion went out, and then with today's world, kind of almost not really a cancel culture, but they dropped him, and now he rebounded. So I think
I guarantee you, if we sat Pat down, and hopefully somehow, some way we could mix it up with Pat Downey over an interview in the near future, I guarantee you he's gonna say there's just, and you could ask him this. He's gonna say that it was just. He's going to say exactly what you said about women's wrestling, about how much the sport is growing. And also on the side note, I wonder if the correlation is to women seeing Ronda Rousey or Kayla Harrison doing well in MMA, Tatiana Suarez, and maybe they're like, oh man, that's an outlet post college, post Olympics that I can make it a career out of. So that's also cool to see. But I think, yeah, and it happened in 2020. So I'm assuming it was during the height of the pandemic, and it was when everybody was just, they call them the keyboard warriors, sitting. Everybody was at home. They're focusing on, I think it was tweets, if I remember the article.
I think it was tweets.
It was, so it's like everybody sees it. They're just sitting on it, stewing on it. Nothing much to do at home. I'm hoping Pat can turn it around, man. I really believe he just needs to.
I'm a fan of him. I mean,
express this energy in the correct way. That's it. I don't know. I like both sides. I like the good Jedi, the Luke Skywalker with Bo Nickal, and I also like the Darth Vader with Pat Downey. It's like, it's cool, man. I think it's fire and ice, and it's exciting to see that it's this week. What? Real quick though, stepping back, was how was Bo's power double? Like he didn't do knee to the floor, kind of just ran through it. Was it just his opponent was just so?
He set himself up for it. I mean,
okay.
He attempted to knee him in the head. I don't know if it was like a scare tactic, but as soon as he landed, and he was standing straight up and say, "Hey, thank you. Let me get that for free."
So he is like wrestling, grappling mind is like a chessboard, so many moves ahead. Like everything he's doing is set up. Because I'm learning the wrestling game from you, my friend. So just trying to study these elite wrestlers.
He may have had a different plan. He may have had something completely different in his mind, and then hey, an opportunity presented itself, and he jumped on it. But I think he set himself up standing straight up. So I mean, he took advantage of that.
Does it make sense that Pat is going to be more of the traditional young mixed martial arts fighter with that elite wrestling background, where he just relies heavily on wrestling early? Or do you feel it's just, I don't know, maybe he turns into Tito Ortiz or a Mark Coleman, where he takes you down and he wants to inflict damage? Like
he might be a Tito. I think
whoa,
he's a totally different guy. I mean, like you said, he was dedicated to the sport of wrestling his whole life, and then he had a few mishaps, and he's got a fighting background, so he might want to inflict some pain.
Gotcha. We got about 3 minutes left. Anything you want to throw in, tag in? This is casual, man. It's fun to be working with you.
No, it's cool. It's cool that yeah, absolutely. Let me look at the card real quick. And I looked up a few of the guys that we were talking about. With some wrestling background. There could be more. I just don't know. I did it real quick, but Steve Mowry, he's 10-0 right now. He's fighting the interim champ from Russia. I don't even want to say his name because I'll butcher it. Valentin Moldavsky.
That's pretty good. I know
Moldavsky's background. He's got a little bit of a wrestling background. He said he came from the Pittsburgh area, so people in the wrestling community that know that Whipple, Western Pennsylvania, is tough. Like that's where they have a turn or a dual meet every year called the Dapper Dan. So it's like Western Pennsylvania versus a state,
wow.
or the country. So they're super tough. Steve's 10-0. And it said he only wrestled 2 years in high school, but still he's got that background. And I believe it said he was coached by Quentin Wright for his wrestling. So Quentin Wright, that people that don't know, is a national champ from Penn State, another Penn State guy right there. And then the other guy, Austin Vanderford, as you referred to as Mr. Van Zandt. But dude's pretty tough, real tough. I think he's 11-1 now. And he's a NAIA national champ. So National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. It's a different governing body from the NCAA. Still tough, dude. You got to be your All-American national champ. He chose his path. I think he's a 2-time state champ from Alaska, but went to Southern Oregon University and competed there. And then the other guy that I was looking at was Sullivan Cauley, who's a 3-time state placer from Nevada, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and he wrestled at Arizona State. And I believe he's currently training with Ryan Bader. So, those are just some names to look at and see how they're doing. But he's 3-0, I believe. So it's interesting to see, how these guys do this weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna at least tune into the fights that we mentioned, just to come back and learn how the wrestler is transitioning in MMA. Justin, as always, Mr. Ferrara, I appreciate the time, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Nice shirt, by the way. I think we have about 20 seconds. Can we squeeze it in? What is this? You see
Man
Man
Ramp.
Ramp with Tech Deck?
Man Ramp. No, not a Tech Deck one.
Oh
Man
my
Ramp.
gosh. I grew up on Tech Decks. I'm like, I gotta get one of my own or something, hang it up in the background. But Justin, you're the man. Till next week, brother.
I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.